There's been a stark difference in public and media reaction to the murder of UnitedHealthcare CEO in the Daniel Penny trial. Now, Daniel Penny has been vilified leading up to and after his not guilty verdict. We saw disturbing posters plastered on New York City subway cars referring to the incident as a lynching. Al Sharpton called the verdict, quote, blatant legalization of civilian vigilantism. And CNN also called Penny a vigilante.
Later in the night, we're also going to talk about Penny and the verdict there. Mm-hmm. There you also have a victim who somebody determined did not deserve to continue living, right?
No.
Yeah, tell me which vigilante action is okay.
One is being proactive, right? So this kid who executed someone.
Founder of Black Lives Matter of Greater New York is now calling for black vigilantes.
Just like everybody else seeks justice on their own, just like everybody else has vigilantes, we need some black vigilantes.
That's right.
People want to jump up and choke us and kill us for being loud. How about we do the same when they attempt to oppress us?
But wait for it. The man accused of gunning down UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson is seen by some as a folk hero. New Yorkers celebrated the suspect with a look-alike contest shortly after the murder. Former Washington Post reporter, you won't believe this, Taylor Lorenz, called Thompson's murder joyful.
How can this make you joyful? This guy's a husband, he's a father, and he's being gunned down in the middle of Manhattan. Why does that make you joyful?
Thousands of Americans that being murdered. So are the tens of thousands of Americans, innocent Americans, who died because greedy health insurance executives like this one push policies of denying care to the most vulnerable people.
Should they all be killed then? Should they all be killed, these healthcare executives? Would that make you even more joyful?
No, that would not.
Well, why not?
And,
why are you laughing?
I think because it wouldn't fix the
You seem to find the whole thing hilarious.
I find your question funny.
A bloke's been murdered in the street. I don't find it funny at all.
And the Washington Post at one point had that woman on payroll. She's no longer there. It's not a funny, laughing matter, and the Pennsylvania governor, Josh Shapiro, doesn't think so either.
In some dark corners, this killer is being hailed as a hero. Hear me on this. He is no hero. The real hero in this story is the person who called 911 at McDonald's this morning. This killer was not a hero. He should not be hailed.
The hero is indeed the McDonald's worker. I thought to myself, would I be able to recognize this individual? And I thought, no, but this brilliant McDonald's worker did. And Emily, here's what he got in return, he or she. This was the Reddit responses that were written to the stupid bleep that ratted out my baby Luigi Manangino. You will be dealt with. Out of solidarity, I will be boycotting all McDonald's in the area. I would suggest you consider doing the same. That McDonald's worker should get Employee of the Year and should be very proud of him or herself.
That's right. I think the way to deal with this detritus is to not give it oxygen. I think, unfortunately, there's always going to be a rash of extreme viewpoints, and unfortunately, it's fostered and fomented by social media, including the manifesto by the alleged suspect, right? So the antidote to that, don't give it oxygen, don't publish it, continue showing Brian Thompson's face, not the murder suspect, say Brian Thompson's name, not the murder suspect, and to those platforms that still employ these journalists, that's the thing we talk about often, that when you give oxygen to these extremist views, when they choose to publish it, that is feeding into it, and it's only for profit. And I point out, too, I think it's as a side note, for the fact that instantly social media always identifies the Karen, you know, go to work internet, tell me who this person was and their lives are ruined. I'm surprised it actually took so many days to identify this person who had multiple degrees and went to UPenn and had this wealthy family and a lawmaker cousin. I'm really shocked that it took the good work of a Good Samaritan McDonald's worker instead of the internet who knew this guy to begin with.
Very perceptive. I mean, sometimes I can't even tell if my husband got a haircut. There's no way I could identify a criminal. Totally. That person is pretty brilliant. I want to go back to Daniel Penny for a moment. And Paul, This is what the NAACP decided to post. The NAACP said the acquittal of Daniel Penny and the death of Jordan Neely has effectively given license for vigilante justice to be waged on the black community without consequence. It's a painful reminder of the inequities in our justice system. Jordan deserved compassion. Instead, he was met with violence. And it goes on. I just want to lay out some facts. Jordan Neely was arrested 42 times. There was a black civilian who helped Daniel Penny to subdue a man who was threatening to kill everyone on the subway. A black woman afterwards called him a hero, thanked him, spoke to FoxNews.com. He is a hero. It was self-defense. I believe in my heart. He saved a lot of people that day and people who could have gotten hurt. These are facts. Why does the NAACP leave them out?
What, you're expecting facts to matter here, huh? You're a person of faith. So anyway, all right, let's look at a couple of things. Number one, the majority of the people that were on that train car that he stepped up for were people of color. He's the hardest target on that car. He's a young, big guy. Marine, he's in shape. Easiest thing for him would have been to just stare at his phone and let it happen. According to the reporting, Neely was moving towards a mother and child, right? The Hispanic woman says she almost passed out. She was so scared. What if he didn't act and something happened? Would he not be vilified by the same characters? Number two, the CNN anchor, she should lawyer up because she just imputed to Daniel Penny the intent to commit a homicide on the air. Nice job. That's not even what he was charged with, okay? So she's way out of line and she should wise up. And let's just remember something. Does anybody think here, and this to me is the real metric, does anybody think that if Jordan Neely had done everything he did and was a white guy, Daniel Penny wouldn't have reacted?
No.
Nobody wants to see Jordan Neely dead, but that doesn't mean that Daniel Penny should go to jail for it.
You raised so many good points, and I hope he is able to go after these people who have defamed him. The New Yorker, and I'm summarizing here, I shared it yesterday, said, you know, subway dancer strangled by Marine. That's what they said before the verdict was out. I hope Daniel Penny gets some form of accountability here.
And, you know, to the person on CNN who apparently can't tell the difference between the cold-blooded execution, someone who was shot in the back on the streets of New York, and Daniel Penny protecting occupants of the train car from someone who said that he wanted to harm people on that train car, you are the threat to society, not Daniel Penny. You are the threat. And it really is telling. I'm actually worried here specifically about the moral confusion of Alvin Bragg, because now that charges have been brought, he is going to be the one assigned to prosecuting this case against the suspect, Luigi Mangione. We know that he is one of those people who apparently can't tell the difference between right and wrong. And I hope, again, that the New Yorkers step up and do what needs to be done, regardless of what Alvin Bragg decides.
Is he going to prosecute against any of these threats?
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
prove to us that you're actually, you know, it's all colorblind.
Marie, do you have faith in Mr. Bragg?
I do, actually.
Oh,
look,
wow.
I think that for many people, we don't think that he should have done nothing on the train. It's whether he could have subdued the threat without ending this life.
And the jury determined
he didn't.
And I was
And he
going
didn't end his life. He was breathing after the interaction.
I just took a breath. I was going to say there was a legal process. There will also be a civil case that is brought as well. So we will see how that plays out. And to your first point you made, I hope that McDonald's employee doesn't just get Employee of the Year, gets the reward that had been put out for finding him. That would be an even better way.
I wanted Donald J. Trump to get McDonald's Employee of the Year until this guy came about. So
we disagree on that, but on the second part, we agree.
All right, fine, fair enough.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.